Did you know that the Environmental Protection Agency issued a nationwide call in the 1970s to photograph environmental conditions and problems? The news in 1970, when President Richard Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, was filled with reports of serious environmental problems that had been festering for years. Massive air pollution from automotive emissions, waterways fouled from industrial waste and agricultural runoff, lead exposure from lead in gasoline and paints, and many more. The result of the EPA's nationwide call was a photography campaign aptly called Documerica. Its objective was to document the state of the environment in America. From 1972 to 1978, nearly 100 of the country's best photographers were hired to travel around, taking thousands of photos of threats to the environment. Many of Documerica's photos now reside at the National Archives and are available online at archives.gov. The first issue of the EPA Journal features Documerica photos and provides an intriguing window into the spirit, challenges, and accomplishments of the agency. In the lead article, EPA Administrator Russell Train noted that 1975 came in a tumultuous time, with fuel shortages, gas lines, angry consumers, and backlash on environmental controls. The Watergate crisis led to President Nixon's resignation and disruption in federal government operations. Russell Train shared his vision for the EPA. I am firmly convinced that the success of our national environmental programs will depend upon our willingness to work with the citizens of this country. While our environmental gains are both solid and substantial, we have barely begun to make the fundamental changes in our accustomed patterns of behavior that alone will enable us to live in constructive and creative harmony with the natural world. The journal reported numerous examples of EPA actions. The EPA was funding a study on how to remove plant nutrients from sewage, improving the water quality in New York Harbor. The EPA and local authorities had cracked down on industrial waste going into Florida's Escambia Bay, stopping massive fish kills. The EPA's first rules under the Noise Control Act of 1972 took effect in 1974, limiting noise from tractor-trailers' exhaust systems, tires, and other sources. Congressional hearings were planned for 1975 on the feasibility of requiring American auto manufacturers to achieve a 40% improvement in fuel economy by 1980. In 1974, the EPA was also given the responsibility under the Safe Drinking Water Act for setting national standards for reducing waterborne illnesses and chemicals in drinking water. In only 5 years, the agency had grown enough to move to a brand new headquarters. Immediately after it left the old Normandy building, its original home in Washington, D.C., the building was demolished. Employees who worked there had fond memories, but they also looked to the future. Gwendolyn Brown, Secretary of the Press Service, Division of Public Affairs, remembered that it was total chaos, but it was fun. We started with a 2-person press office. Joan Holden, Administrative Assistant, Office of Federal Activities, said, "Thoughts of our beginning bring back memories of 1 room, 6 people, 2 telephones, and a 6-foot stack of overdue environmental impact statements topped by a turtle." Fred Lovelace, Facilities and Support Services Division, stated, "I'm proud of our competence in acquiring office and laboratory facilities for the rapidly expanding headquarters." Issue number 1 of the EPA Journal paints an intimate portrait of the EPA of almost half a century ago. Despite the environmental and economic challenges and the political turmoil, the EPA responded to the times and did its best to carry out its mission in those years. In 1975, Administrator Russell Train said that there is no inherent conflict between our energy, environmental, and economic goals. The real challenge of 1975 is to find new and increasingly effective ways to reach these goals. 45 years later, as the agency celebrates its 50th anniversary, facing climate change and continuing environmental problems, those words still ring true. To learn more about the history of the EPA and over 260 other federal agencies, visit the webpage History at the Federal Government, provided by the Society for History in the Federal Government.